Welcome, everybody, to the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show. My name is Judah Hoover. Brandon is beside me, and then on the other side of Brandon is Josh. See, Josh, I'm a pro. I can do it without thinking about it. I know which way.
I know.
That might also be part of the reason why I can do it. But anyway, so ladies and gentlemen, this is the Build and Grow with Real Estate Show, where we teach people to be ants, not grasshoppers. And we love talking about how to make your living from real estate, make your career from real estate. I'm a real estate investor and a realtor. Josh is a real estate investor and a hard money lender. Those are great ways to make money in real estate. And then also build wealth and change not only your family dynamic, but hopefully the family dynamic of your family tree. So we've got a great guest, gentleman who I've known for a little bit now, and he's also pretty active on social media and stuff like that. And just some of the recent stuff that he's been putting out there, I was like, you know what, we gotta have Brandon on. So, that's right.
Judah sets up our guests every Thursday, right? And he did a great job with Brandon. Reached out to Brandon this morning, and he points out to me, he's like, "Yo, we worked together on a deal a year ago." And it never ended up closing. I think we couldn't quite get the seller's seller held second, right? I guess. But I mean, at the end of the day, man, it was awesome working on that deal with you. And looking back and talking.
Are you telling me that not every deal you work on closes? Are you telling me that real estate investors sometimes put time, effort, and energy into something that turns out to be all for naught?
100%. Well, and with that deal especially, I mean, in retrospect, it was like a home run. However, it's hindsight's 2020, and we're in the middle of this pandemic and like not really knowing what the other side's going to look like. And long story short, it didn't quite work out. I'm sorry we couldn't fund it, and it didn't work out on that one. But guys, call me if you need a loan. But I was just impressed at how much knowledge he had of like my backyard where I grew up in Hershey, and he's talking about, there's this investor in Hershey, he's got great wholesale deals, and I like this house. Yeah, and I just finished this one, and like it was fantastic just talking to him. So I'm so glad to have you on the show, Brandon. This is
Brandon, what's your background? What's your what's your 9 to 5? Because that kind of ties into real estate too, and maybe and helps some of the markets that you do business in.
Yeah, so I went to college at Penn State, graduated in 2002. I have a degree in structural and civil engineering. Started doing that right out of school and realized I just hated it. I could not get on the desk. So being in a cubicle all day was just not me. And I ended up working my way into construction. So now my 9 to 5 job, I'm a commercial project manager. So I manage construction of buildings, things like warehouses, hospitals. We're doing a big. There's a big push right now for cannabis grow facilities. So we're doing a whole bunch of those, both in Pennsylvania and New Jersey. I think. Do you experiment with that at your home, like just a little like proof of concept, test lab, or anything like that? I wish I could, and I could talk about that for hours, guys. It's really crazy. The people that they hire as their head growers here in Lake Pennsylvania, which is like medical use only right now, they come from Colorado or California, and they learn their craft in their basement. And then they get hired here in Pennsylvania making $300-400K a year. And it's just crazy. It's a crazy business. But it's really, I gotta tell you, I've never smoked, cigars and cigarettes, sure, but like never smoked even once in my life. But I do find the industry, like the science behind it and everything like that, it's pretty fascinating. Yes, it is.
So Judah, you put us both on the spot here. Do we have to answer the same question?
No, you do not. I didn't inhale. I
smoked, but I didn't inhale. That's exactly right. Right. Anyway, so how the heck do you transition from building? I mean, the one project that really got me fired up when you were talking about this before the show is the potential for this Porsche Warehouse. Is that right?
Yes, we are going after that one right now. Yes.
Where's that going to be? Can you say roughly where that's going to be built?
I can't right now.
Okay.
But
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to get into like I didn't this or
yeah, okay. These like companies, it's a nationwide like company, and they don't like to have all the details out there. But this is going to be cool. It's going to be a warehouse essentially to store executive cars. So they get all the best cars each year, and they only have to keep them a year, and they get to turn them back, and it is really cool. So the warehouse business on my W2 side has been crazy this past year with everything that's changed in our world in the last 18 months. The amount of online sales has drastically increased. I think we as a company built over 5 million square feet just last year of warehouse. Wow. We start to look at that market. Amazon right now is building a 4 million square foot warehouse in Jersey. It's going to be the largest warehouse in the country. It's 4 million square foot on 1 million square feet of a footprint. So it's 4 stories of 1 million square foot pads.
Wow.
It's ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. But yeah, I enjoy what I do. But my passion has always been like real estate.
Right. Well, so I got a real quick question for you on this warehouse. Just this whole industry. It's so funny because I can remember growing up and seeing these. You think about the cycle of industry, I guess, in this country. We go from having this demand for all this manufacturing space that pulls back and then becomes these empty buildings or warehouses or whatever for 30 years, 40 years. And now what do we need again? We need this warehouse space, and it's like the rush back in. And I mean, you see this kind of cycle in every little small bit of real estate, but it's like all about being in the right place at the right time and seeing what the trends are. I just think it's fascinating that, right now, right, the empty factories are like what everybody wants. That's the stuff. Yeah.
And then you contrast that with, it's a tough time right now to be in commercial, like real estate.
Yeah.
Both for office and for retail, because a lot of jobs have gone like remote. A lot of retail are closing up after what happened last year. So it's amazing how the market changes.
That's exactly right. All right. So tell us about how you got into real estate. How'd you go from construction manager to let's buy some houses, and what have you done with them?
So this is crazy. I remodeled. I grew up. It was me and my brother and my mom. My dad wasn't in the picture a whole lot. We grew up in like Schuylkill County. My mom had never made a whole lot of like money each year. I think our highest salary was about $30,000 a year, but she supported us well, and we had a good life. But I found myself, I wasn't happy with some things in our house. So I ended up remodeling my first bathroom at like 14. I had to get a friend of mine to drive me to Lowe's to go get and make sure I got all the materials at once, because I wasn't old enough to drive. I got all the materials from Lowe's, got them dropped off at my house, and over the next 6 or so weeks, I remodeled a bathroom in our house. And then I did the same thing again with another bathroom about a year later. And I always had this passion for building stuff, but I knew I didn't want to go into that as full time. I didn't want to be out in the elements and the snow and the heat and all that kind of stuff. So, but I always had this passion for houses. So when I was about 21 years old, I was almost done college, still living at home. I bought my first 2-unit at that time. I wasn't going to move into it. I was living at home. So I had a 2-unit. I was getting cash flow off of it. And back then, I think that first one, I took a $5,000 loan from a credit card, and that's all I needed down. I think the purchase price was $28,000. I took $5,000 from a credit card, got the sellers to cover the closing costs, and I owned a 2-unit. And it was a pretty good deal. I think the gross rent was about $1,000 a month. Bought it for $28,000, and then it was a really long lot that spanned between 2 blocks. Somebody offered me $6,000 to buy part of that lot. So I had a friend who was a surveyor. I surveyed it off. I submitted it, sold that for $6,000. So at this point, I'm 21 years old. I'm working at PennDOT at the time, making $36,000 a year. But I'm making about $500 in cash flow off this 2-unit, and just made $6,000 on top of it. I'm like, this is going to be great. I'm going to rule the world. So I bought a couple other multis, and tried to do some flips. Wasn't great at flips at that time, just because the market wasn't that great up there. It was a good rental like market.
Mm-hmm.
And then around like 07 or so is when everything changed. People were losing their jobs, and all my tenants stopped paying at the same time. Things they would call me like threatening to hurt me, threatening to hurt my family. Because at that time, you still went to get rent checks. I mean, it wasn't like it is now. You still had to go there, and it got to be a little bit like hairy. So I was able to exit out of that, and I told myself I was swearing off of real estate for the rest of my life. How'd
that work out for you?
So it made something I love turn into like something I hate. But like, long story short, like fast forward to 2008, I ended up buying a turnkey like rental.
2018, not 2008.
I'm sorry, 18. Yes, I ended up buying a turnkey like on my rental property, just a single family home, nice home. Not a lot of cash flow, but it was a stable B+ type of home, even like an A-, near a hospital off of like Union Deposit Road. And the tenants were good. The house was nice. I was proud of it. It wasn't giving me a lot of cash flow, but at this point in my life, I was making enough like cash flow.
I got a question.
Sure.
Do you mind sharing the exact dollar amount? Because you went from a $500 a month, really inexpensive rental property to X for something that you probably paid more for, be closer to market value. It's already renovated. You already have a tenant in place.
Yes.
So what was your net cash flow on that?
Sure. So I purchased it for $122,500.
Right.
It's about 1,000 or so square feet, and it was rented, I think at that time, for about $1,050 a month.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Actual cash flow, because I put away money for like CapEx and reserves and maintenance. I think after all of that, I think it was cash flow maybe $100 a month, maybe a little less.
So if you're saving like you're supposed to, and you're still getting $100 a door, that's not a bad place to be, especially if it's a really stable property. And this is the lesson that I try to teach people when they, go into some of these rough neighborhoods and they buy properties that cash flow like a dream come true, and they don't realize, you're going to get that cash flow for a year or two. And then when the market turns, like, you're going to have to pull I hope you saved a lot of that cash flow, because then you use that to limp you through the bad 2 or 3 years, and then it starts cash flowing great again. You can make a lot of money in bad neighborhoods, but if you don't save it while you're making it, you are in for trouble.
Yep.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Ask me how I know. I watched me do it.
Right.
I gotta say too, what I like about these nicer houses, or not nicer, but Class B, Class A type of like rentals, is they're easily converted into cash. And like what I mean there is, if you have a Class C multi-unit, I'm gonna exclude the current like market that we're in, because it's just. Right. But if you think back a year ago, if you had a Class C 3-unit, it's going to take you some time to actually like sell that thing. If you have a Class A like rancher in a good location, even in a so like market, you're going to sell that thing quick. So my whole goal when I restarted this again was, all right, if I get tired of it again, I want to be able to easily exit the business.
Right.
So that's what I look at when I'm looking at something to buy and hold for a longer time period.
Well, and I'll bet you that place that you bought in 2018, you did all right now in today's market. Like, it's probably worth a little bit more than that 125 that you paid, or 122 that you paid.
It's crazy. I'm going through a like refi like right now. It just got appraised at 160.
Right. And your payment went down.
Payment went down. Yep.
Right.
And rent went up. Yeah.
So, I mean, that's the beauty of like, you get a solid rental property in a BA area. You can convert it to cash if you need to, but it's steady. Like, you don't have to think about it. Your tenants, you're deciding between 675 and 725. That, you know what I mean? In credit scores, instead of 570 and 580. You know what I mean? And like, that's a beautiful thing to do. Like, it just puts you in a much more stable wealth growing position, maybe not a cash flowing position.
Okay, so let's just summarize. So you're 21, you buy a couple properties, you think everything's going great. The market takes a turn. You and I are about the same age. We all learned a lot of painful lessons. You went away for about 10 years. You came back into the industry, just like
real estate. He went away from real estate for about 10 years. He didn't go away for 10 years.
Right. Yeah. That's not that's a whole different kind of going away.
To be clear.
Right. So anyway, the point is that just like Godfather, that line from Godfather 3, you know, every time I think I'm out, they drag me back in. So so Brandon thought he was out. He bought another turnkey rental, but learned his lesson, said I shouldn't buy properties like this anymore just because of my makeup. I should be doing this type of deal. So he switched, and you had some success there. And now, so then you bought 2, 3, 4, 10 more, where like you bought some more and then you've done some flips.
Yeah. So I love the idea of the turnkey because it was easy. I just kind of wrote a check and I got this like property, but it quickly like hit me that I couldn't sustain doing that. Everybody has a limited amount of cash. So I had this idea, and this is right when the BRRRR method was becoming known. We've probably all been doing it for years, but BRRRR has been sort of coined strongly over the last, I would say, 3 years.
Can I tell you a story quick about this? So you know Chad Gallagher, who I work with, right?
Yep.
So now I've been investing in real estate for 20 years. Chad, 4 years ago when I first got to know Chad had been investing for like 3 years. And Chad like writes this article and he's like, hey, you know, take a look at this, tell me what you think. And I'm like, what's this? This is 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago. He's like, and I'm like, I don't know what this BRRR thing is.
Yep.
And he's like, oh, well, if you were in bigger pockets, you would know. And like what that is that's a really popular term. And it's, you know, it's blah, 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 blah. And he like explains to me the BRRRR method. And I was like, oh, so you mean real estate investing?
Yep.
That's what great. That is. That's just how we've always been doing it.
Yep. And now it's coining this. Everybody knows it now.
Right. So continue.
Sorry. So I realized I had like a limited amount of cash. So I said to myself, all right, I called it, I will flip to myself. That's sort of how I described it. And I described it to the contractors who I had coming in and like looking at houses. So I started like doing that. And obviously it is the BRRRR method. Most important thing I found out about BRRRR is make sure you have your end lender like lined up front. A lot of people get burned on that. Like find out if they want to lend to you solely or in like an LLC. I know you can ask this question all the time, Judah, whether or not to create like an LLC or not, but it's all what your lender wants is what it comes down to.
100%.
Right.
And I think more lenders are going to want to lend to you personally. And I also think that you're either going to like real estate or hate it. And I think that you can figure that out without the burden of having an LLC set up. Some people strongly disagree with me on that. That's fine. I just, you know.
We got our expert in here today. Brandon, I want you to repeat that line. The first line that started this conversation. I don't know if you remember, but. I don't remember.
Do whatever your lender says.
Whatever your lender says, right? That's the takeout side of this, is that if you're in a hard money loan or you have your own private money stuck in this property, it's tied up. It's not doing anything for you unless you can either leverage it or start getting that cash flow. And the cash flow better be huge if you're going to leave all your cash there, right? Yeah, exactly. So I mean, you got to know where that refi is going to come from unless you're comfortable leaving that money sitting in the property. It's that simple. And
it's important too, like Josh, for people that are doing well that you guys do, hard money lending, 90% of the hard money lenders I talk to will only lend to an LLC. So in that case, I learned that the hard way. I was about to close on my first one, and they said, "Oh yeah, we need you to have an LLC." So I'm on LegalZoom at midnight, paying $500 extra for a rush fee to get my LLC created. So it's all about knowing that and we all talk about this like one item at work. It's sometimes the problem is you don't know what you don't know. And people don't know to ask those questions. So it's very important to know if you're going to use a hard money lender, what they want, and if you're going to refi, what that bank wants. It's very important. And if you've got
it's a huge deal.
Yep.
All right, let's talk about. Let me talk about something here. Let me ask you a question. So Brandon, you now have bought some turnkeys. You've flipped some properties. You've done some burrs and things like that. I know that you're also wholesaling, which I think is another great way to generate cash. What I want to ask you though specifically, instead of running down any of those roads, because I don't think a lot of people know and understand how much value there is in taking the skills they use and have been paid to learn in their 9 to 5, and then applying that and transferring it to real estate. So what skills have you learned in your 9 to 5 that have then benefited you as a real estate investor?
So I think what's really helped me is almost any business. If you can't interact well with other people, you're not going to do well. And that term interacting could be from a day-to-day conversation of how's your day to when things get tough, can you keep the conversation at hand so whoever you're talking to does not get too upset and everything blows up in your face. It's real interesting. I'm a project manager. I build buildings that are multi-million dollars. So everybody always thinks, oh yeah, you should easily be able to manage a reno on a $30,000 house. I can tell you it's 10 times harder dealing with a painting sub who's painting my 2,000 square foot townhouse than to deal with a painter I have on a warehouse whose contract is $2 or $3 million.
Amen, brother.
People don't understand it. Because I have a 30-page contract in place with my big painter.
They're also professionals. They also have their own crew. You're dealing. It's a totally different animal. I was a junior partner of a junior partnership and helped put together a syndication to do a 342 unit flip in Tulsa, Oklahoma.
That's cool.
And this was after I had rehabbed about 300 houses. And my mind was just blown at how different a $2 million rehab or a $2,000 rehab is in stress.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing.
Yeah, and it's hard finding the contractors, but I've found that if you're fair, if you pay on time, expectations have to be clear up front. That's what we do. That's what I do on my main job, and that's what I do in my investing part. Expectations up front have to be clear. And sometimes some contractors will sort of balk at you putting too much down on paper, but you have to explain that you're doing that to make sure we both don't end up in an argument halfway through this job.
And it's important to go over those contracts and those agreements. I mean, I've got a templated contract that I use with every contractor, right? But they're not going to read it unless you make them. And you're like, hey, listen, I can fire the guys that are working on my job site, even though they work for you. It says it right here. I want you to know that. So if your guys are being idiots, I'm throwing them off the job. Little stuff like that. If you say it up front, they don't care. And if it happens in real time, everybody knows about it and it's easy. But if you bring it up and you're throwing somebody off the job site, now you got a problem with his boss. Now there's a conflict on scheduling and finishing and completion timeframes and all that jazz. And you don't need it. Yeah. I mean, there was a guy that I used to coach wrestling with. He had a saying. It was 90% of conflicts are an error in communication.
I believe
right? There's a breakdown in communication. One person says A, other person hears B, even though it's the same words. It's crazy. Yeah.
It happens all the time.
Yep. Absolutely.
I think that one of the things that you're getting at, Brandon, is that real estate is just a big problem to solve.
Yep.
And how we solve that big problem is we break it down into the little problems, and then we just attack the little problems. A lot of us do that in our 9 to 5. We say, okay, this is the big problem. How can I break this down? And how can I solve all the little problems? And I think that a lot of people, they don't realize what's holding them back is they have fear associated with investing in real estate, but they don't know that they they already are used to solving and working on complex problems and challenges. And it's really a very similar skill set. Whatever you do in your 9 to 5, you've learned skills. Apply them to real estate. Whether it's budgeting and accounting, whether it's project management, whether it's sales, whether it's, whatever it is, you know how to do things and invest in real estate in a certain way that you lean on your own skills.
Yep, exactly.
So tell us a little bit about kind of, what you're looking for now and what you're hoping to do now.
So I've like acquired a fair amount of like rentals now. I'm still actively doing flips at this point and like BRRRR deals when they make sense. The market is very strong right now, obviously. So it's hard to pass up a nice like profit. Past few deals I bought were going to be BRRRRs, and I end up selling them because it's just hard to pass that up. So recently though, I just started a new like wholesaling my business. I currently have three full-time employees, 2 of which all they do all day long is just make calls. They call and text. So I'm really trying to grow that part of like my business. I've realized I'm not the best person at buying homes. I'm not a good sales guy to like homeowners. So I've hired someone that is better at that and has a little bit of a better like personality with those types of like people. I'm used to dealing with like contracts and that kind of stuff. So sitting in like a homeowner's like living room and talking to them about their cats and their dog and like their aunt and uncle is not great with my personality. Like I can do it and I'm happy to like do it, but I'm not the best at it.
No, so, I totally get it. I totally get that.
So I've like hired like someone who has a great like personality who can go out and like do those things. So I'm really looking to like grow that. So what I'm like looking for is any leads on homes, and I will pay a like referral fee if we close on it. I'm looking for anybody who's looking to buy houses cash. I do have a website. It's Central PA Wholesale like .com. So you go like right in there, and I'll get all like your info, and we can add you to the buyers list.
You said centralpawholesale.com.
Correct.
Right?
Yep.
Okay, so I just posted that in the comments. If you guys want to click the link, you can go there now. Go ahead. Sorry.
And then so that's how we sell our properties to other investors. So that basically creates our like buyers list. I also operate under Harrisburg House Buyers. That's harrisburghouseBuyers.com, and that's where you could go in and put in if you have a like lead on a house, or if you want to sell your house, or if you have a rental that you're tired of all that managing. We actually got 2 of those calls just like yesterday of landlords that are just tired.
Yep.
That's a favorite. That's one of my like favorite type of people to help out. We are looking to hit like home runs. We're looking to hit like singles. So if we could help a homeowner make a couple dollars on the assignment fee, that is all we want to do. We're really looking to make it up in some volume. So I'm really excited about that because it's completely different than everything else I've been doing. It's essentially marketing and sales and like contracts is all it is. So it's less risk because you're not in investing a lot of cash. So I like that like part of it. And I'm hoping to use some of the profits from that business to reinvest in other like real estate. But yeah, so that's what I'm focusing most of like my attention on right now. I am buying some of my deals that we find and using them as flips and like long-term holds. So yeah.
That's awesome.
Are you excited to have the potential to be getting back into real estate investor meetings and everything like that?
Oh, I can't wait, man. I've always like loved those things, and it has been tough.
Yeah, it's been crazy. We got to have one of these outside. We'll have an investor meeting outside, so that we don't have all the distancing and mask restrictions.
Yeah, I've gotten the most impact from speaking at like events. Like I've gotten the most reward off of that. Not necessarily like all my money, but I have gotten deals and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. But just being able to like help other people and help out with like roadblocks that I know I've faced, that I'm sure the person who's just starting is also going to face. I love doing that. And
sorry, when you were talking, I was checking out your website, my friend. Looks really good. You've got some good stuff here. So Harrisburg wholesale properties, but it's centralpawholesale.com. And I got to tell you, this is really cool. I also love that you're, your business is big enough that you've actually employed 3 people now. There's a lot of wholesalers who do a whole lot of it on their own, and that's a great way to do it too. But it's also good. See, what's funny about you and me, Brandon, is I'm the exact opposite. Like I get off on sitting there talking, even though I hate dogs and cats and everything like that. Like I'm all about making friends with people. That's what I love to do, and that's the part of the business that I absolutely love. So I worked as a partnership for a company in Harrisburg, and we were buying 10 houses a month. And there was a group of about 10 of us, and we all kind of did our own little thing. And I loved that all I had to do was show up, get it under contract, and get it under contract based on me walking the house and putting together the renovation number. Now, I was held accountable to whether that renovation number was right or not, but I got really good at just walking houses and saying, scribbling stuff down and saying, okay, I know that I can buy this for 25. I know I can rehab this for 25,000, and therefore, my number needs to be here, and just kind of making that happen. So I think it's neat that different people are going to gravitate towards different parts of this industry and then just hire around that. So
yeah, exactly. And I do want to, like I mentioned, I have this other piece that's part of my like wholesale arm, but I'm gonna turn it into some like marketing. So I've bought a couple different like websites, but one is called Sell Your House Fast AF. .com. So
nice.
I don't know if you guys know what AF means, but I
have a shirt that says Dad AF on it. So
there you go. There you go. So it's sellyourhousefastaf.com, and it's similar to these other like websites, but I have some plans for some marketing that I want to do like around that, where you're talking about how fast you want to like sell your house, and then there'll be a bleep over when you say the bad words, like, you know what I mean? So,
right.
So I'm trying to do a couple different things. Ultimately, like my goal is to just do like real estate at some point. But like right now, I still like the both things, so I'll do it as long as I can.
Nice. Well, listen, we've got to run. This was great. We could, you could sit around and talk about cannabis all day. I could talk about people's real estate journey with them all day. But Brandon, I really got to thank you for coming out and checking us out. And everybody, you've got to check out his website there, centralpawholesale.com. And reach out. And Brandon, I'm really excited to see you back at meetups again, my friend.
I can't wait, guys. And like, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you having me on.
Hey, that's good stuff. Guys, thanks for joining us today. We'll be back here at noon tomorrow for our weekly news roundup. Until then, go make some money. We'll see you back here about 23 hours. Take care.